advice. All right, and the next piece of advice. Think of the different angles and different combinations of camera settings you can use to take a picture of the same subject. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I think some of it I covered on the other point about, the background and all that. And also the same picture, like the same subject, can be taken in so many different angles and so many different ways of, shutter speed, lighting, different angles.
So experiment, basically.
Not experiment. You should not click. You should move around with your camera and see how it works. And think what you want and then click. Rather than click from 10 different angles and delete all the others. Just because then you tend to miss things that are more, obvious. Because you're just clicking from different angles rather than thinking about why you're clicking from that different angles. So that's what I'm trying to teach with my class, because try to push people to think more about why you're taking the picture, why you're using these settings, what can I do more. So like stuff like that, which I think are more important than some of the nitty-gritty settings and all these things in the camera.
Get a good vibe.
Alright, Shamil, I really appreciate you coming on Good Morning Sri Lanka. We really appreciate the insights of photography that you've given us.
My pleasure.
And we definitely would love to have you back on the show again soon. Anyways, we'll go to a quick commercial break and we'll come back with another great Kesara Ratna Vibhushana on Good Morning Sri Lanka.
Good morning, Sri Lanka. Welcome back to the show. Today's show is all about Photography 101. And I don't know about you, Jason, but I've learned a lot during this show. I know you've dabbled in a little bit of photography yourself, so these are not new terms for you. But haven't you learned a little bit as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have Shamil on the show. Shamil gives a pretty detailed insight on what his thoughts on photography are, and I really enjoyed it. But now, we have
another guest.
Good friend of mine, Kesara Ratna Vibhushana, on the set.
Hi, Jason.
How's it going?
Good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
Hi, Maya.
Hello, Kesara.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. How's your morning been?
Oh, I'm a morning person, so I kind of like it in the mornings. 24-hour clock is what I operate on, so for me, it's all good.
Start the morning with a good cup of joe. Anyways, Kesara, we were speaking, I don't know if you saw this before, but we were speaking to Shamil as well. We were getting a few tips and insights of what he thought on his photography, the way he shoots.
Yeah.
Now, Kesara, tell me, you focused on, you started off as a photojournalist.
Yep.
That was back in...
that was about 2003.
2003, and that's when you started shooting stuff for the London, right?
A whole bunch of things. I was based in London. I was reading a year of architecture, and then I switched to history of art. I hated photography though, and I hated it with a passion.
That
so
makes a lot of sense.
It's really weird that I ended up taking to it instead of loving it as much as I did. Because it was the streets of London that were my sort of training ground. So it was shooting a lot of riots, protests, industrial fires, all kinds of crazy stuff. And that sort of day in and day out in the snow, in the rain. So that really sort of got me a good edge in terms of getting a lot of practice that was hands-on.
Yeah.
And I was competing with a lot of
because you can't exactly ask a writer to stop and pose now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that I pretty much bring that to all my photography now. It all kind of goes in that big creative soup that you kind of.
But now you're in a completely different line. So many years down the road. Tell us about the type of photography you do now. Actually, we have a few of your shots here, so maybe we can go to them.
Aishwarya Rai. When was this taken?
Oh, this was a while ago, about 2004, 2005, I think. Yeah. But it was one of my first sort of professional gigs, maybe even earlier than that. But it was, she was opening a restaurant and stuff like that. I photographed her a couple of times for these agencies, and again, like I said, it was one of my first gigs. So that kind of, I guess when you get to take pictures of Aishwarya Rai, you kind of think, oh, well, I could do this for, the rest of my life sort of thing. So it kind of gave me a lot of training as well, and I didn't even know it.
There's another one. Is that
Oddly enough, that's part of a series of projects I'm doing for Diane Gomez, because he's heavily involved in boxing.
Yeah.
And I put that in because it's a kind of a subtle shot, and all these are about the emotion and the energy.
And you can really feel the emotion in these shots. And
Okay, sir, like, I mean, working with you as well, I remember one time you told me, always, even if you can't get the shot that you want, focus on emotion. Trying to get emotion on people. I'm guessing that's what you're doing in most of your photography as well, focusing on the emotion, facial, like facial expressions that people give out. Is that what you were going for in these pictures as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a series of projects I'm doing for Diane Gomez, who's heavily involved in the Boxing Association here. And he gave me this very enigmatic brief about what to photograph, because I said, I'm not a sports photographer. Why am I here? And he turned on his heel and he sort of set me on this mission. And I've been covering it for a while, and it's a series of stuff, and it's an amazing world. Like, it is, I never knew anything about boxing. It's a completely different world, but getting into it, getting into the emotion, the energy, and that atmosphere, both in the crowd, in the locker rooms, in the ring, just seeing all of it sort of unfold, that focus, the energy they have, there is so much to explore. I mean, I feel like I could spend the rest of my life documenting all this, and still, you know, again, with you can apply that to a lot of things in terms of photography. But there's a lot of depth to really explore when you have a great subject.
Is that Rihanna? Yes, it is.
Yep.
You've been 6 feet away from her as well. So I guess photography opens up new doors, and you get to meet new people, shoot in new locations. It's an exciting career, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. There's a shot of Neo that might come up, which I took his first concert. Yeah, first concert outside of the US, and I was the only photographer there. And I didn't even know who he was. So, you know, I didn't bother talking to him or getting his audio. I was just like, you know, dude with a funny hat. And now he's big, so I wish I'd gotten some memorabilia or something.
And was it the same thing when it happened with Rihanna as well? Like, you didn't know who that was? You were like, oh,
I didn't know. I didn't know who she was until my editor said, oh, great, you got a shot of Rihanna. And I was like,
lucky coincidence.
I mean, just like, yeah, it was years after that.
Oh, wow, look at that one.
Tell us a bit about this shot.
I worked for a couple of years as a theatre and performance photographer in this very crazy arts club called Shunt in London. It was under a station. It was down this tiny little fire door in this long corridor. And I was their official photographer. And again, I got that gig from just going there, first as a guest and then taking my camera and taking picture after picture. And they liked the stuff and they knew I was dedicated. And that's a big component to it. It's that sense of dedication you bring to that. And that was part of a series of things where this guy is sort of running around the club covered in clay and then cleanses himself with like a thin stream of water from an upturned bucket. And it was very challenging to shoot. There's only one tiny light. Everything is dark. You know, I didn't have the best equipment at that time, and but it taught me a huge amount. But a lot of that came from determination. I was there 4 days a week, from start to finish till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whenever they finished. You know, literally I would photograph people sweeping up, to get that idea of wholeness that you kind of do to be able to really pursue photography in a serious way.
Cool. I think you also like, speaking about weddings, this is your wedding photography. This actually looks like a dream.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It does.
That was that was for Harper's Bazaar magazine that just came out.
And the angles
and yeah, this one, the bride was actually like an hour late for it. I had to staple her dress. Run down the stairs, get a stapler, and then kind of staple her dress. I love weddings. I shoot sort of quite a few down in Gaul and a lot in Colombo as well. But I shoot them very natural, very relaxed, and it's very sort of hands off. So I take I don't shoot very many, but the ones I do shoot, I like to think that I really sort of get into it and try to build this relationship with the clients and sort of really get them some pictures that they'll look back 40 years from now.